Chapter 13. Danielle's Puff. Agent Dickhead here tossed me into some kind of holding cell. "Isn't it beautiful, beautiful?" he asked, looking at me with a smirk on his face as he set me down on a chair. "I will report you, Agent Dickhead. This is beyond kidnapping. Please, you know you love it, Danny, and I suggest if you want to stay out of jail, you love me right back," he says, grabbing my arm. "As if I rather go to jail," I shouted, trying to pull away from him again, but he only tightened his grip. "Keep your voice down or your little robot buddy here gets offline for good. Do we understand each other, sweet cheeks?" I growled at the perverted man who looked at me up and down. "You won't get away with this," I say, struggling to get out of my cuffed arms. "Oh darling, I already have," he says, smirking before closing the door behind him. Optimus's Puff. "Please let this work," I begged as I activated the glasses that fell out of Danny's pocket when that man took her off of Bumblebee. "Fire it up, Optimus." The code. The code on these glasses indicates the Allspark is 230 miles from here, I say, reading the information out loud. I sense the Decepticons are getting ready to mobilize. "Danny might be in a lot of trouble," Ratchet says, looking at me. "Great, the children will for surely die if the Decepticons get their hands on this cube, and the children. What about Bumblebee and the kids, Optimus? We can't just let him die and Danny gets hurt even more. Look, that guy has an interest in her and she doesn't. If he does something to her, I'll regret it, and Bumblebee will die in vain if we don't accomplish this mission. Why are we fighting to save the humans? They mean nothing to us. They are a primitive and violent race. I'm not doing this for every human. I'm doing this for one particular human who I care most about, and most likely you all know who that is by now. Danny is very important to me, and I don't understand why, for she is just one human, but perhaps Primus put us together for a reason. Perhaps I'm fighting more for us than the other humans, but we can't be together, for there is only one way to end this war. If all else fails, I will unite it with the spark in my chest. That's suicide, Optimus. You wouldn't want to do this to Danny. Look, I see it in her eyes. She loves you. She chose you, Optimus, and you'll break that connection. A necessary sacrifice to bring peace to this planet. I may lose Danny, but I will always be watching over her no matter what. We cannot let humans pay for our mistakes. It's been an honor serving with you all, and it's been an honor meeting Danny." Autobots roll out. "We rolling. Let's go save the humans," Jazz says as I had transformed. Sam's Puff. "Hey kid, I think we got off to a bad start, huh? You know, with the car, your sister. How about we forgive each other with a cup of coffee?" "Where's my car and where is my sister?" I asked with crossed arms as he smirked. "Son, I need you to listen to me very carefully. Look, we'll give you back your sister." "No, we won't," Agent Simmons cut in as I glared at him. "If you tell us everything you know now." "First, I want my sister, my car, my parents. Do we understand each other? Because if I don't see my sister in 8 seconds, I will personally sue all of you for kidnapping her. Oh, and her juvie record that got to be gone like forever. Come with me, we'll talk about your car." Simmons, get him what he wants to bring Danielle Witwicky out. "Yeah, thank you," Michaela says as we began walking with this other man. Danielle's Puff. I was sitting in the chair bored as I couldn't get free from these damn cuffs. The door busted open as Agent Dickhead came in. "Decided to let you go free," he says, grabbing a key as he uncuffed my hands. A smirk came to my face as I punched him hard on the mouth, causing him to fall back on his butt. "That's for kidnapping and flirting with me. Oh, and I get to punch you twice for threatening me," I say, punching him once again. "Ah, a feisty woman, just the way I like them," Agent Dickhead says after roughly grabbing my arm and leading me out. We made it to some kind of station as I saw B frozen up in ice. Here ya go, Simmons says as he pushed me roughly as Sam caught me in a tight hug. Danny, sis, are you okay? Did he hurt you in any way? Why else would his nose be bleeding if he didn't? I asked with a smirk as the three of us turned to look at his bloody nose. Wow, I'm best friends with a badass. Very nice work, Michaela says as I see her and Sam holding hands as I lightly smiled. Alright, here's the situation. You've all had direct contact with the NBEs. NBEs? What the hell is that? I asked, crossing my arms as Sam pushed me a little more behind him. Non-biological extraterrestrials, sweet cheeks, keep up with the acronyms. Yeah, well, how about you keep up a foot in your ass? I asked, smirking at him with a little wink. What you're about to see is classified, this dude said as they showed us a frozen-up Megatron on ice as my eyes widened. I mean, even though he's covered in ice, I feel like he's looking straight at me. We think when he made his approach over the North Pole, our gravitational field screwed up his telemetry. He crashed into the ice. Look, sir, we kinda already know this stuff, okay? That's Megatron, leader of the Decepticons, the very ones who tried to kill me not so long ago. Well, you're first and a smart ass, just my type, Miss Witwicky, dickhead says as I rolled my eyes. You better drop it, Simmons, I'm serious. Yeah, well, so am I, Sam. Anyways, moving on, please follow me, this guy says as we all began walking with him. What about B? We'll get him out. Optimus will come to rescue us, right sis? I hope so. Of course, he will. He always comes for Danny since the first night they met, Michaela says as she smiles at me, making me blush as I looked away. Please, he doesn't always come for me. Hey, isn't that the Alls Park? The one Optimus wanted? Sam asked us as we saw a giant Cybertronian-looking cube. Alls Park? What is that? A random person, I believe Keller or something, asked. It's a cube that they wanted. And let's just say that Megatron plans to use it for evil if you don't hand it over to the Autobots, I responded with crossed arms. You sure about these, sweet cheeks? As sure as I ever will be. Oh, and Agent Dickhead, please, the name's Danielle, not Sweet Cheeks, I say, causing the others to giggle. Chapter 14. Danielle's Puff. Thinking about Optimus Prime is one of the hardest things I have to do. I miss him like crazy, and I'm even wondering if he'll come to rescue me. I can't seem to shake off those beautiful electric blue eyes that I know, and by God, I think I love him, but how? How is that even possible that I could love him? He's a giant alien robot and I'm a human. How would that work? Either way, I doubt he'll like me the same way I like him. I wish he'd come. I want to see him and tell him I love him, because after my near-death experience it feels right just to tell him, because maybe I won't get to tell him next week. After all, he is in the middle of the war with the Decepticons. Just the thought of him fighting makes me queasy in my stomach, knowing that he might not live to see the next day and I wouldn't bear not seeing Optimus around. You got to take me to our car. You have to take me to our car. He's gonna know what to do with the cube, Sam says, crossed arms as I snapped back into reality. Danny, are you okay? You've been quiet for a pretty long time, Michaela whispers as I nodded. Yeah, just thinking. Do I wanna guess who? I rolled my eyes at her with a slight smile. Your car? It's confiscated. Well then, confiscated it. We don't know what will happen if we let it near this thing. Whoa, Agent Dickhead, did you just call Bumblebee it? It's say he gets your facts straight. Listen here, sweet cheeks, it's Agent Simmons, okay, and maybe you guys know what will happen but I don't. So what are you planning on doing? Sit here and have the cons take it or something? I asked with crossed arms. Sweet cheeks, I have people's lives at stake here. Stop calling my sister sweet cheeks, that are not her name, Agent Dickhead, Sam says as I glared at him for using the nickname I gave to Simmons. The longer she calls me Agent Dickhead, the more I call her Sweet Cheeks, and personally I like Sweet Cheeks better. If there weren't witnesses around, I'd beat you so bad that the regular cops wouldn't have been able to recognize who you even are. Simmons, just take them to their car, a man named Lennox says with an annoyed tone. I felt a hand grab mine as I turned to look at Sammy. Everything's going to be okay. Will it? I can't stand being here much longer. I want to go home. I know, Danny, I do too. We'll be home soon, I promise, he says, giving me a light kiss on the forehead. Drop it, I heard Lennox growl as I turned to see a huge commotion going on. I saw Lennox shove Dickhead to the wall as all guns were out on him. There is an alien war going on and you're going to shoot me? I smirked. I personally wouldn't mind if you shot him, I said, causing him to glare at me. You know we didn't ask to be here. I'm ordering you under S7 executive jurisdiction. Okay, you know what, I'm out of here. I don't have time to deal with this. I need to find Optimus, so goodbye, I say, untangling my hand from Sam's as I began to walk away, but two soldiers blocked my path. Nobody is allowed to leave. Wow, what a day. First, I almost had a near-death experience. Second, Simmons kidnapped me and tried to sexually assault me. And now I'm being held hostage. What's next? Wait, did you just say he tried to sexually assault you? Yeah, when I was forced to be alone with him in the car. Where do you think I was? He placed me in a holding cell hoping he'd get a chance to be alone with me, I say as everyone turned to look at Simmons. When this is all over, Simmons, you're fired, Lennox says before letting go of him. And also when this is over you can expect a missing person, Sam barks as he glared hard at Dickhead. Simmons, I'd do what he says. Fine, if you want some alien robot in charge of the cube then fine, he spat before walking away. Agent Dickhead is no more, I say, smirking as we followed him. No, stop please, you have to stop. Sam and I yelled together once we made it to the place where B was kept. He was on the table as cries and whines were heard as they were putting ice fog on him. No, stop, just stop, another soldier yelled. Bumblebee, I shouted as I pushed the soldiers out of my way as I ran towards him. When he sat up. B, this is all my fault. If I hadn't slipped none of this would have happened. I am so sorry, B, I say with a tear in my eye as I held onto him for dear life. It's okay, Danny, please don't cry. I'm all right, still breathing, and besides Optimus would have killed me if I didn't save you, he says through the radio as he wiped my tears away. I chuckled at that as I held onto him tighter. Be you okay? Did they hurt you? Sam asks, walking over to me. Of course they did, he says through the radio as he glared at the other humans. Look, B, the cube is here and the cons are coming for it if Optimus doesn't make it on time, I say as he looked surprised. B held his guns up at everyone who he didn't know as they did the same. Shoot him, I dare you, I growled, protecting B. Don't worry about them, they're okay, they won't hurt you, Sam reasons as B slowly lowered his guns. B, please put the guns down, if they hurt you I'll shoot them all. Does that sound fair? I ask as he smiled and nodded, putting the guns away. Message from Starfleet Captain. Let's get to it, he says through the radio as I climbed on him. We need Optimus. Where is he? Your boyfriend is on the way, don't worry. Boyfriend? Sam asks as everyone gave me strange looks. You. Optimus isn't my boyfriend. Not yet, he says, smirking as I rolled my eyes. Not yet? Whoa, B, what's that supposed to mean? My sister will not be dating an alien. Come on, Sam, you'll ruin the fun for them, let her be with him. Excuse me, but isn't there more important matters at the task than worrying about my love life? Danny's right. We stay here, we're screwed with Megatron in the other hangar. Mission City is 22 miles away. We're gonna sneak that cube out of here and we're gonna hide it somewhere in the city, Lennox agrees as I nodded my head. I think I should handle the cube. I mean, I was the one with the glasses and everything. Absolutely not, I'll handle it. Sam, it's not your job to save the world, it's mine. Oh, so now it's all about Danny. Remind me, who's the oldest around here? Sam, I'm a year younger than you. It doesn't matter how old you are, what matters is that Megatron over there doesn't get the cube itself, I say, pointing where Megatron was at as I still felt him staring at me. Okay, look, you two, Danny's right, she should handle the cube. Sam, you'll be with us while we guard Danny. We gotta get the word out to the Autobots before the Decepticons can arrive. Lennox sure has been siding with me lately. There's an old army console, Agent Dickhead says as he was standing in the corner. Does it work? I asked, crossing my arms as I lay on Bumblebee's shoulder. I don't know, sweet cheeks, anything possible. Did you see that? Proof. He says as I rolled my eyes. All right, Danny, get in the car. Mr. Secretary. Get our birds in the air. When we get to the city, we're gonna find a radio and I'll have Ips vector them in, okay? Affirmative, sir. Warning. NBE-1 cryotainment failing. Shit, Megatron's awaking, I say with wide eyes as the ice began melting off of him. Chapter 15. Danielle's Poff. Sam, Michaela, and I were in the car. We got away before Megatron could awaken. I was driving the car with Sam next to me and Michaela in the back with the cube. How's the cube? Is it okay? I asked, turning to look at Michaela. Yeah, Danny, it's fine. Are you sure you want to do this? You don't have to. Exactly, Sam agrees to cross his arms. I've never been sure of my life. This is something I have to do and I will do it. Just stay back and protect me, please, both of you. Put a seatbelt on it so it doesn't fall, Sam says, changing the subject as Michaela nodded. Sam, this isn't over, we need to discuss this. Discuss what? That my little sister, who is the most important thing to me, is going to take the cube on a roof, letting the helicopters get it and die in the process while doing it? Sam. I guess we're done discussing then. Look, I see Optimus, I say, pointing to where he was as he was on the road coming towards us with other cars following him. Optimus. I shouted happily out the window as they all began making U-turns following us now. Danny, you can see your boyfriend after we get the cube to safety, Bumblebee says through the radio as I huffed and crossed my arms. Not my boyfriend. Sure he isn't yet. The sound of a cop siren could be heard as I turned back to look at it and saw a tractor truck shoving cars out of its way. Please tell me that's a regular cop? Negative, B responds as he picked up the pace. Oh God. What? What is it, Danny? Michaela asks as we all turned to look at the cop heading towards us. That's the same cop that tried to tear my arms off. Block them, block them, block them, I told B nervously as he did what I told him. I saw Optimus slow down a little as I turned to look to see him transform. Optimus. I shouted again, causing him to look at me with worried optics before the Decepticon took him down from the highway. B, go back, we have to go back for Optimus. Optimus can take care of himself right now. Our top priority is getting you to that roof, B says as we continued driving faster. Optimus's Poff. Danny's safety was all I could think about when the Decepticon known as Bone Crusher knocked me down from the highway. Bone Crusher threw a punch at me as soon as I landed as I got back up and did the same to him. You will not have Danny, she's mine, I growled as I took another swing at him, making us both fall off the bridge and down to another highway. So weak, Prime, today you die, he growled at me as he tried to swing at me, but I grabbed him as I shoved my sword up to his head. You're the one who's dead, Decepticon punk. I've got to go for Danny and tell her I love her before it's too late, I say, transforming as I began to leave. Danielle's Poff. I literally chewed off my nail for being so worried about Optimus. Danny, you never bite your nails. Is this about Optimus? Sam asks, grabbing my hand. Look, Sam, I'm just really worried about him. I can see it in your eyes, Danny. You do love him, don't you? I mean I just don't understand it myself, but it feels so right to be with Optimus. Well sis, I don't know about Mum and Dad, but if you're happy with him then I approve of you being with Optimus Prime. Sam? I asked with hope in my eyes. He nodded, smiling. Cute. I should take a picture with this because this beautiful moment won't last for long, Michaela says as we turned back to look at her. My heart picked up its pace once we made it to where I'm supposed to go. Last time, Danny, are you sure you wanna do this? More sure than I'll ever be. Sam, if I save the world you buy me anything I want. What? Wait, why? Because I'm saving your ass, that's why. He rolled his eyes. Fine, whatever, okay. Bumblebee stopped the car as we began to get out of the car. Michaela held the cube as she passed it over to me. We saw a plane go by, which I'm assuming was a Decepticon from the way we all looked at it. Last time, Danny, are you? Sam, she can do this, trust her as I do, Michaela says as Sam looked at her in the eyes. Sam nodded his head as he wrapped his arms around my shoulders. I love you, sis. I smiled. Love you too, big brother. Raptor, do you copy? We have you visual. Green smoke is the mark. Provide air cover and vector Black Hawks for extraction, Ips says through the radio. It's Starscream. Ironhide yells as he transforms. Who's that? I asked Ironhide as he looked at me. No time to explain, back up. Take cover. Bumblebee with me, he says as they ran off somewhere as the three of us just stood there watching. If you guys hadn't noticed, this cube isn't exactly light. No, move. Lennox shouts as Bee and Ironhide picked up a random truck. Back up. Ironhide shouts to us as Lennox came over to me as he wrapped his arms around me when we hid in the back of the trucks. Why are you protecting me? I asked him as our eyes locked together. Why wouldn't I protect you, Danny? You're a civilian and could get hurt. Or maybe it's just because I have a cube in my hands and you don't want it to fall into the wrong hands. Retreat, fall back. A random soldier yelled. Incoming. Ironhide shouted as an explosion was heard as everyone fell back. With Lennox's arms still wrapped around me, I flew back with him as his body landed hard on the ground as his eyes were shut. My ears were ringing from the sound, but my eyes were on the people who were running away screaming and crying. It was up to me to save these people, to save the world from Megatron. I realize it was up to me. Anybody hurt? Is everyone okay? A soldier yelled as I felt Lennox awaken. You know, Danny, I can get used to this, he says with a small smile before getting up. Oh my God, Bumblebee? I hear my brother shout as I stood up with the cube still in hand as I ran over to my brother. I gasped as I saw Bumblebee's legs blown off as he whined about it. B, I say, shocked as a tear fell from my eye. Bumblebee, you. I can't do this, I just can't, I say, shaking my head as I dropped the cube down on the ground. Megatron can have the cube. It was because of me B was hurt twice. Danny, listen to me. Look, you can save the world, Danny. It's up to you to save it, and I know that now. You have to take the cube. We'll be fine, I promise you will take care of B. Do this for Optimus so you won't have to lose him, Sam says, grabbing my shoulders as he looked at me in the eyes. Move out, let's go. Lennox shouted as a tank was heading our way. I'm not leaving him, I say as tears continue to flow. Go with them, Danny. Just go, I'll take care of B, Sam says, handing me the cube as he shoved me away. I love you, brother, I say again before leaving with Lennox. Oops, get those Black Hawks here. That building. Lennox shouted, pointing to a building where I was supposed to go. What? All right, I can't take my guys back there, so here, take this flare. Okay, there's a tall white building with statues on top. Go to the roof and set the flare. Danny, are you sure you're ready for this? He asked, looking at me in the eyes. No, But I'm pretty damn sure this is my destiny. Danny, we will protect you no matter what, Ironhide says as I nodded and began taking off into a sprint. Optimus was all I could think about as I was running. Knowing that after this, we can finally be together and live a happy fun-filled life. I want to be with Optimus and I know that I'm doing this for him. Danny. Get to the building. Ironhide yelled, running next to me before fighting with the Decepticon. Move. Ratchet shouted as he began blasting as my legs pumped even harder. During all this commotion that was going on, I didn't feel scared at all as I was making my way to the building as fast as I can. With this cube in my hand, I feel like the whole world evolved around me. Hand me the girl. I could hear Megatron shout from somewhere on top of a building. Optimus's puff. Megatron, I say, transforming. Prime, he growls from on top of a building. I took a glance to see Sam and Michaela helping out Bumblebee, but the question was, where was Danny? Megatron made his way over to me in flight mode as he came towards me, but I grabbed onto him as he began twisting and turning, trying to get me off of him. We hit a building, making us both fall to the ground, having him transform back to his original self. Humans don't deserve to live, he growled at me as he was on top of me. They deserve to choose from themselves. Then you will die with them, join them in extinction. He shouts before trying to attack me. I live for Danny, I breathe for Danny, and by Primus, I will save her. Dan yells, puff. Keep moving, Danny. Don't stop, Ironhide shouted. Whoa. I shouted as a plane transformed right in front of me. Ah, a fleshling came with my prize, a pretty fleshling too. Come to daddy, he says as my eyes widened as I began to back away. No. I shouted, hiding and ducking under some random car. Danny, I'm coming, Ironhide shouted as he and Ratchet began fighting the Decepticon. I screamed as the con was right above me, but he got shot at as he transformed and flew away. Danny, get to the building. I took a huge breath as I began running once again. I hope this means I at least lost 10 pounds, so that's good. Give me the cube, girl. Megatron shouted as I looked behind me to see him running after me. Oh shit. I shouted, running faster as he was right on my tail. I made it inside the building as I stopped running as began panting. God, I'm going to so work out after this, I said to myself, panting a bit more before continuing. He's not going to get me. He's not going to get me. God, where's Optimus? I asked as I began running, my heart aching with pain because of it. I heard a window shatter somewhere as I kept on running, not looking back. I smell you, girl, give me that cube's femme and I won't have to kill you, he says as I made my way upstairs. Almost so close. Before I could even get there, Megatron came up from the ground as I screamed and tried to keep on running as he was right behind me now. I continued until I made it to the top where I couldn't see him anymore. Bitch, he says as I smirked. Can't believe I outran a robot. I'm so telling Optimus about this. Hey. I'm over here. I almost died because of you. I shouted to the helicopters once I made it on the roof. I fired the flare gun as they made their way over to me. I was gonna hand them over the cube, but some jerk-face guy decided he wanted to shoot a missile, making the plane go down as I screamed and ducked when it almost hit me. Decepticon bitch. I shouted angrily at it. Hang on, Danny. Optimus yelled as I saw him on top of some buildings. Optimus. I shouted, happy as our eyes locked together. Megatron came out of the building as I tried making my way over to Optimus. No more Megatron, please, I say, making my way to a corner of the building as he sprang up like flowers. Is that fear or courage I smell in you, girl? Ah, I can see why Optimus has a great interest in you, fleshling. Look at you. If I had my way, you'd be mine and I could have made Shockwave make you into one of us. Like I'd ever be interested in you. Megatron laughed, coming towards me as I was trying to hide from him by being on a statue. Give me the Allspark girl and you may live to be my bride. BB bridal like that'll ever happen, I'll never give you the Allspark evil bitch. He growled at me as he hit the statue with his sword thing, making it crumble and fall as I began falling once again. I screamed my lights out as I still had the Allspark clutched tightly in my hands. Optimus! I screamed as I closed my eyes as I awaited death. I got you, Danny, I'll always get you, I heard Optimus's voice say as I opened my eyes and looked at him. Tears leaked from them as I held onto his finger. Optimus, thank you so much. You're welcome, Danny, don't cry. I'm nothing but trouble, Optimus, you wouldn't want me by your side. The Decepticons want me, so please don't fight them, you'll get hurt. Danielle, one thing I know since meeting you is that you're not trouble. I live to protect humankind and live to protect you. I'm not fighting for the war, I'm fighting for us, he says as a tear falls from my cheek, having me hold onto his finger tighter. I love you, Optimus, I love you. Danny, I love you too, but you have to hold on to the cube, he says as he made his way down to the building. Optimus loves me. He said he loves me. Before we could get off the building, Megatron pushed Optimus down as we began falling to the ground. His body hit the ground pretty hard. Optimus? I asked, climbing out of his hand. Danny, you risked your life to protect the cube. I nodded my head, more tears threatening to pour down. Of course I did it for us so we can be together. With his other hand, he wiped the tears that fell from my face with his thumb. Danny, if I cannot defeat Megatron, you must push the cube into my chest. I will sacrifice myself to destroy it, GE. I shook my head. No, I refuse this, Optimus, I love you, don't you understand that? I can't lose you when I just found you. Danny, please do this for me. I can't, I refuse to, I tell him as I climbed off of him when he stood up. It's you and me, Megatron, he says as he gets into a battle stance. Optimus. I love you, I said, causing him to look at me. I love you too, Danny. Megatron laughed. Prime in love with a human? That is the most pathetic thing I have ever heard, and that is why you lose, he says, throwing Optimus onto the ground. I watched the battle between the two giant robots as I saw Optimus losing. Maybe when I'm done with you, Prime, the girl will be mine, he says, kicking Optimus. Danny will never be yours, she's mine, Optimus says, trying to get up. Shots were fired at Megatron from above as I began to make my way over to Optimus. As he was going down, he tried to run after me, but Optimus tripped him as he fell. I'll kill you, girl, I'll kill you nice and slow, he says, trying to grab at me. Whoa, I said, backing up as he still tried to come after me. Danny. Put the cube inside my chest. Now, Danny. I looked back at Optimus, shaking my head, for I didn't want to lose him. I went up to Megatron, having an idea in my head. No, Danielle, fall back, he ordered as I shoved the damn cube up Megatron's spark. The cube was absorbed into him as he tried to kill me, but failed as his optics had offlined before he had the chance to. You left me no choice, brother, Danny, I owe you my life. We are in your debt, he says, reaching out a hand as I gladly hopped on. I hugged his finger as he smiled at me. Thank you for saving me. I'd do anything for you, Optimus Prime. Prime, Danny, we couldn't save him, Ironhide says as we turn to see him holding Jazz in his arms. I gasped. Jazz. We lost a great comrade, but gained new ones. Thank you, all of you, especially my little Danny here. You honor us with our bravery. Permission to speak, sir, B says as I saw him in the back of a tow truck. Michaela and Sam both got out of it as their eyes began searching, probably for me. Once they landed on me, they started running towards me. Danielle. Danny. They both yelled together as Optimus lowered his hand. I smiled up at him before hopping off and joining in a group hug with my best friend and my brother. Permission granted, Optimus says, placing his hands on his hips. My baby sister, I'm so glad you're okay, he says, kissing me on the forehead multiple times before going back into giving me a bone-crushing hug. I wish to stay with the boy, sir. If that is his choice. Yes, yes it is. Then Danny will stay with me. She has asked if I could be her guardian. Danny, do you still want that? Of course I do, why wouldn't I want it? I will drive her to and from her school system. Take care of her and protect her. Danny is my life now and forever will be as long as she wants to. Yes, I would like that, Optimus, very much. Even though I approved it. I'm glad you're happy, he says as both of them let go of me. I went over to Optimus as I climbed on his hand as put me on his shoulder. See, what did I tell ya, Prime? It hadn't even been 10 solar cycles yet, Ironhide says as I began blushing. Love you, he says, ignoring Ironhide's comment. Loves you too, Optimus, I say as a bunch of us were heard. All right, enough about my love life, got to clean this place up, let's move people, I say as Optimus began walking.
Well, I do hope you enjoyed the videos so far and video game content. And don't forget to subscribe, hit that like button, and leave a comment down below. And I noticed 40% of you guys are not subscribed to the channel. If you can, please subscribe to the channel. It'll help me and help the channel grow. Until next time, goodbye!